If there was one advice that you would want to give either to your younger self or to the upcoming entrepreneurs, what would that be?
Just do it. Don't think about it. Having drive is more important than necessarily having the skills. So just start. The more you start, the more you repeat something, the better it becomes.
Countries out here into the UK to set up their lives, things like that. And if they're still struggling in order to get a job, would you have any advice for them, for people like that?
It's important rather to find anything where you can get a skill,
Right.
rather than just choosing the easy route of healthcare or cleaning, because that's what everyone's told me that makes money. Especially when someone sees that you've got a certain sort of mentality and you want to really do this, they want you to carry them with you. I know a lot of people that are petrified, but I'm never doing it. But there's a lot of people that have been successful. If you don't try it, you'll never know.
Today with us, we have Ed, and he'll be talking about his business, and we'll be trying to get a little more insight about how he started off his business and the different hurdles that he faced, and right now, where exactly he is in this juncture of life. Hello, Ed. Welcome.
Hi.
We would love to hear from you how you set up this business and what made you start this off, and at the same time, a little more insight about what you do.
Okay, so my name is Edmund, and I own Rukk Security. So I deal in electronic security systems, anything to do with cameras, alarms, access control. I got into this initially by joining to be an electrician, and then I kind of fell into this branch of electrical, and then from there, I just decided after a bit that I was going to work for myself.
That's lovely. In case if there is something that you would want to tell young people who are trying to get into business, what would that be?
Just do it. So don't overthink it. Don't think, oh, I'm not good enough. The reason why skills are there is for them to be learned. I think anybody can say that they might be really good at a certain thing, but if you start a business, you might find out that you're bad at others. So just start. The more you start, the more you repeat something, the better it becomes.
Lovely. That's a really nice lesson. Thank you. Now, has there been any incident or any moment throughout this business career of yours or this business life which has left an impact on you or has made you think twice or thrice?
So it's to do with skills. I got a DM from somebody from Nigeria saying that they could build a website for me because they noticed that I had a Facebook page. And discussing with them, I realized after giving them the job that they were using GoDaddy, which is anybody can go on GoDaddy and create a website. Now they might not particularly have the skills to build a website, but they thought I can use GoDaddy, and they thought I've got the time, so they did it. So sometimes you might not have particular skills, but you can still have a business because you know where to get certain things. So I think it's important to just start a business. As you start, and if you've got the willingness to keep going, you will find a way to make it, to continue it, basically.
Totally. And I think a person's values and their core competencies with respect to the skills that they have is what actually defines what they make it out of those skills later on in the future. So that is quite important. In case if there is a person that's come out from different countries out here into the UK to set up their lives, things like that, and if they're still struggling in order to get a job, would you have any advice for them, for people like that?
Yes, actually, I do find that a lot of people tend to go into healthcare or cleaning jobs, but there are so many other things that you can do. Once you've arrived and you are in the country, you could work for someone as a laborer, for example.
Right.
Tends to be cash in hand. Sometimes it's not, but you can do it depending from your schedule. So let's say you didn't have any skill, but you wanted to labor for somebody who was a bricklayer. You're just passing bricks. They might pay you £50 a day. That's cash. If they don't pay you £50 a day cash, they pay you directly, it's still a lot of money for somebody who has no skills. And if you're studying, it's still money in your pocket. Eventually, after a few years you doing that, you will learn, because you're going to see the person doing, you will learn a few basic things about laying bricks. There is a lot of things that people can do, like plastering, joinery, plumbing, electricians. And there's a lot of electricians in my field that I know that started with just being an electrician's mate. They just come past tools,
Mm-hmm.
then they learn that an electrical circuit works this way, and then they started learning. So it's important rather to find anything where you can get a skill
Right.
rather than just choosing the easy route of healthcare or cleaning, because that's what everyone's told me that makes money.
Right. At the end of the day, it's just a skill, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, in case if you would want to convert it into something that runs your life later on,
Yeah.
or if you would just want to keep that as a hobby or a passion,
Mm.
that's left to you. But again, at the end of the day, it's a new addition to your already existing skill set. So,
Yeah.
it definitely does matter, doesn't it?
It's important, especially not putting all your skills in one, all your eggs in one basket,
Mm-hmm.
because let's say you came and you're learning psychology.
Mm-hmm.
If you can put a light up, it's still good.
Yeah.
You know, if let's say you study psychology, you finish and you're like, I don't really want it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in this industry. I don't like it. You can become an electrician. If you've got, let's say you've got a little bit of money put aside,
Yeah.
you can do an electrical course. You end up working as an electrician, mate. 4 years to come, 5 years to come, you're an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, for example, me, I could have done IT because
Mm-hmm.
I like anything technology,
Mm-hmm.
but I always felt like I couldn't sit in front of a computer for that long. So I thought I'll choose something where I can use my hands,
Fair.
and it's always worked out. I've
Mm-hmm.
had times where maybe there wasn't as much as money or didn't have as many skills, but because I can put up a light switch, I got £50. So you know, it's important to have a certain skill, and
Right.
you will never be broke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Never. As long as you're in here, you'll always have some money with you.
Lovely. So coming back to your business,
Mhm.
so when you set your business up and you started rolling on with it,
Mhm.
were there any psychological issues that you faced? Because again, a lot of people fear failure when it comes to starting off a new business. While a lot of people, while they've started off, and even though they do not have that crazy fear of failure, they always are quite skeptical about how things might pan out for them later in the future. They do not know what the future holds for them. So I'm sure even you would have had such thoughts. How did you try dealing with those thoughts, rather? Because I'm sure you cannot completely overcome those thoughts because they're necessary for you to branch out and think on a wider perspective. How did you deal with them?
I think if you are an entrepreneur and you don't have any fear of failure, then you're doing something wrong. I think if you're doing something so drastic,
Mhm.
you'll always have fear of failure because you don't have the skills.
Right.
Now, the important thing is to understand that it's not failure, it's feedback.
Right.
So I still fight myself with this. I sometimes think, oh, if I can't do this, then that means that this is gonna affect other things. But it's feedback.
Right.
What did I do that got me to this point where I can't continue this?
Mm-hmm.
If you see it as feedback, that means that you're not gonna stop.
Right.
Failure means you stopped. You stopped here, and that was it. Then you did something else. But feedback means, okay, I got this. Next time I won't do the same thing. I'm going to do something else because I've learned from this. And as you keep doing that, the people who actually get to the destination are the people who decide that they're not going to quit.
Right.
Because if you quit, then you quit.
That's the end of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, how important is it to actually stay in the present? Because as I said, a lot of people end up being skeptical about the future. Rather, they think if the business that they're starting off has a good potential later on in the future, but do you think it's quite important for them to just stay in the present and just start it off right now, and then think about the future for later, as and when it progresses, and then adapt?
Yes, it is important to stay in the present. You might the only time where you should think about the future is where do you want to be, as in I would like to be here. But thinking about the future and what if it goes wrong is not going to help anything.
Right.
Rather, the way I see, and like I said, it's a constant mental fight. I could quit right now. I could just leave this and be like, I'll just go and work for a company, and I'll have a lot more money than me trying to work for myself.
Right.
I'd have a lot less headache. I could go on holiday, 30 days holiday. I don't have to deal with any tax, anything, any account. I just have to go to work and come back.
Right.
But the aim of this is I want to have something for myself.
Right.
So are you going to postpone that? When it comes to mentality, like psychological things, the constant fight and constant having to fight yourself and find a way is also important. What helps me is understanding this. If I did it once and it worked, I can do it another time and it will work. So replicate what you've done the first time so that you can make the same money that you made that time.
One question that I have is with the importance of partners in a business.
Mm.
You did tell me earlier that it's your sole business and you
Yeah.
have not diverged the shares or
Mm.
anything. You have not diluted your
No.
business. How important do you think is having capable partners in a business? And as you've chosen to be completely solo in this venture of yours, what made you take that decision?
So, I think delegating is important.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm doing things solo, but not everyone has the mental capacity to continue
Right.
doing everything solo.
Hmm.
Um, if you want to advance in a business, delegating and finding someone that's able to do the job
Hmm.
accurately is important.
Hmm.
If you don't find that person, you're probably better off doing it yourself,
Right.
because there's a lot of people that will jump in and say, "Oh yeah, I want to do the business with you," and you might put them in, but what you'll find is that they just want to be carried along.
Hmm.
So especially when someone sees that you've got a certain sort of mentality and you want to really do this,
Hmm.
they want you to carry them with you.
Yeah.
So yes, it's important to maybe find a partner,
Hmm.
but if you have not found that partner that's actually willing to have the same drive as you have,
Hmm.
you're probably better off doing it by yourself.
Right. So that was your driving factor.
Yeah.
That's really good to know. When did that thought occur to your mind that you wanted to start off something afresh, something which was completely new to your skills and something which you felt that okay, I can make an impact to this business?
To be honest, it's always been something that I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Um, I've always had a lot of drive, so I always wanted to do something where I would be in control and I would run a business. But you can't just run a business if you don't have any skills.
Right.
So I first started working for people and acquired the skills,
Hmm.
at least the basic level of skills, and then as I was going forward, I started working for myself as well,
Hmm.
where I was allowed to.
Hmm.
And then about say it's been about 8 or 9 months. Then I started working for myself.
Hmm.
There's a lot of challenges, but I still don't regret it.
Of course,
Yeah.
that's the story of all entrepreneurs, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So one question again. Do you think there is an important switch that happens in the career of a person when they're into their core competency, when they're doing what they love to do? For example, in your case, it was electrical, that was your background,
Mm-hmm.
and then you started working on a similar line, and then you understood the inside business of things, and then you said, okay, let me start off something afresh.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try, building a business where I know what I do, and again, I understand the business and how exactly things work. Do you think that's important, or can people just have a drive towards something, towards creating something new, and can they simply go at it?
I think the latter is important. I think having drive is more important than necessarily having the skills.
Hmm.
You can actually open a business and not have a particular skill. Even though I used to think that you have to have these, you have to be the best person,
Hmm.
but it doesn't work that way. There's people that don't have the skills and still make it work.
Right.
It's more about supply and demand. So
Hmm.
if you know that people have a certain, um, if they have a certain thing that they need,
Hmm.
and you can provide that, you can make money off that, which
Fair.
is the basic thing of business, really.
Hmm. Lovely. If there was one advice that you would want to give either to your younger self
Mm.
or to the upcoming entrepreneurs, what would that be?
Just do it. Yeah, don't think about it.
Hmm.
Um, you're always gonna. I'm somebody who I don't know if it seems like it, but I'm somebody who overthinks a lot.
Hmm.
And before I even get to do something, I think about all the possible scenarios
Hmm.
and what I can do and what's gonna happen. And you end up being paralyzed by fear if you think about all the negative things.
Yeah.
So just do it. You've got nothing to lose.
Fair.
I know it sounds very cliche, but for real, just do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Of course, you might have faced a lot of hurdles and failures as you
Mm.
started off your business. Do you want to describe or elaborate a little on that?
I mean, I'd say I have challenges every day. It's based on being a tradesman.
Hmm.
So you carry your tools, but things like having a van, for example, I've had issues with my vans and it cripples the business.
Hmm.
It hurts the cash flow when your van is not working,
Hmm.
or customers not paying, for example.
Hmm.
You'll do a job is worth 2 grand, 3 grand,
Hmm.
or however much, and you're waiting for the person to pay you,
Hmm.
but you they're not paying for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now you might have put your money into it as well.
Hmm.
So now what's going to happen? So if you facing these challenges, you learn quickly how to deal with certain things. And I find speaking to other people, whether they're in your field of business or they're not, is very important because you get different ideas. I find that sometimes you'll be in an area where you're in your head in the business and you think, oh, I can make this work and make that work. But speaking to someone and saying, oh, I'm facing this and whatever, sometimes they can say, oh, why don't you try this? And if you're humble enough to accept their advice, it might work.
Lovely. That's a really good piece of insight. That's good to know, because again, in businesses, communication is the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Knowing how to talk to people and who are the people to approach, especially when you're dealing with such businesses and when you are on that primordial state, when you're setting up a business, is so important.
Yeah.
Lovely. So, as a founder and as an owner of this particular business, well, how does a day in your life look like?
Well, mostly quoting jobs. So having requests and people saying, I want this done, you quoting them and then them responding. So the quoting process is making sure that you give them a price that they'll be able to accept so that you can do the job.
Right.
They might say no, they might say yes. You keep it moving regardless. But it's important to keep up with the quotes, especially. And then after that, then getting the jobs done. So planning, making sure that the customer is at home, going to the customer's house, or if it's a business, making sure that they're okay with you coming at a particular time and getting the job done. A lot of the time, especially in my field of industry, because it's technology, it constantly moves forward.
Right.
So there might be things that you were never thought by anyone, but because you're in the industry, you have to learn.
Right.
An example is a Starlink. I was never taught how to use a Starlink, but because I have the knowledge and because people expect me to know something about it, then I need to research it. And I do find that one thing that has changed the dynamic of my business, for example, is ChatGPT. I think if you learn how to use that, it makes a lot of things faster, much faster than what you think. Quoting process, for example, ChatGPT has helped me to speed that up. I used to sit down and try to reply to every single customer. Whereas if you have the right prompts on ChatGPT and you ask the right questions, it'll answer you, and you can answer the customer, which cuts out the whole process of having to sit there and interact. Unless obviously it's a different scenario in which you have to interact. But at the beginning stages of somebody asking you a question, you don't want to sit there and constantly reply.
Good. But in the future, do you think that it has the capability to take someone's job, in the sense, artificial intelligence for that matter? Let's assume in the long run, when you start establishing your business a little more and you start expanding, then you would need certain people to handle that particular aspect for you on certain localized aspects. Let's say, for example, in Manchester, you might need a person. In Leeds, you might need a person. On other parts of the UK, you might need separate people. But again, as you rightly said, ChatGPT is taking care of all of that. So would you prefer ChatGPT doing that, or would you honestly prefer people doing that?
Well, I still like the human touch. But the reason why I mentioned ChatGPT and I say ChatGPT is important, ChatGPT works based on the prompts that you give it. If there is not a human behind there giving a prompt, it won't work accurately. So if the person doesn't know the basis of what you need, let's say with me, there will be somebody asking me for 4 cameras, for example, and you ask ChatGPT, how much do 4 cameras cost? Now, ChatGPT might tell you 4 cameras cost £600, but if the customer is having a detached house and you're giving them the very basic, you're underselling. And not necessarily, and the underselling is the issue. You're giving them a substandard product.
Right.
So you have to have somebody sitting there knowing what to ask before you even get to the point of getting the actual answer.
Right.
I do think, yes, it will take people's jobs, but I think it will take the jobs that are practically unskilled. I think the way the world is going, you cannot not know something. Even if you don't know something, there's that much information out there that you should be learning something.
Right.
So it's gonna get to the point where you've got no excuse to not have a skill, whether it be knowing how to talk to people. If you know how to talk to people, you can sell.
Right.
If you're good with your hands, you'll be like me, you'll get on the tools. If you're good at dealing with money, then you find a place where you can deal with money. So it's more important of having a skill, whether it's hard skill, soft skill, having a certain skill will get you there. And will obviously take you out of the place where AI will take your job. Yeah.
So having a good skill that you're confident in, along with AI, is the dream combo. You mean
Yeah.
to say?
Yeah.
Lovely. That's a really good point to note, because again, most of us are actually wondering when it comes to AI, we have that fright, thinking that okay, is there a point later on in the future where artificial intelligence can just take up our jobs and we might be having nothing else to do in life. But that's a really good point. Thanks Ed for that. Anyways, with this we conclude today's session. So far, we have learned a lot about how businesses work and how people who lead or find businesses start off thinking and about their mindset. Is there anything else that you would want to say before we finish, Ed?
Well, like I said earlier, if you want to start a business, just try it. There's no harm in trying. And once you try it, you receive the feedback. You never know. You might think, maybe I should just continue,
Yeah.
rather than not doing it at all. I know a lot of people that are petrified, but I'm never doing it. But there's a lot of people that have been successful. If you don't try it, you'll never know.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for being a part of this today.
Thank you.
I hope to see you soon again on another show, maybe once your business has expanded.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed and touch wood. Hopefully, we are also looking forward to the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.